Good morning. And just like that, it's all over. Sky Sports transfer deadline day malarkey kaput and finished. And not surprisingly, Tottenham's transfer window closes in a rather disappointing fashion. So, as I've said previously, I'm not a fan of the transfer window deadline day and all the hype around it and all that, and I tend to stick to when they're holding up the shirt and we've got the official notification. That's when I accept that a player is officially a Tottenham player. So yeah, rather disappointing ending to it all, and to be honest with you, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that that's how it's gone. So we get Brennan Johnson in from Nottingham Forest as our final signing, and seems like a good signing. I don't know loads and loads about the player, but right winger, forward player, very pacey, and looks excited to be there. And from Ange Postecoglou's point of view, it's a player that he wanted. So if it's a player he wanted, then we've got to get behind him and accept that that's where we're heading and that's what he's looking for. And it does seem to fit in with the recent purchases and the recent teams that he's been putting out. So lots of young players, lots of pace, lots of energy. So it kind of makes sense that he kind of comes in. The biggest disappointment, obviously, and I think everyone will get on board with this, is the lack of central defender, which we've really been crying out for. So we've seen that Van der Ven seems to be growing in the role and looks a good player alongside Romero, who we've all called out and said really good player, really happy with him. But I guess the issue there is that you only need an injury to either of those. And we know that Romero can suffer like that, and then you're back with, currently I'm guessing Sanchez as the backup central defender, and that's really the only option, because it looks to me like Dyer is not going to get a squad number, so he won't be featuring anywhere as it stands. So that kind of leaves you with just one player to cover those two players if either of them get injured or suspended. And whilst I know a lot of fans are not happy with Sanchez, I do see green shoots of improvement under Postecoglou. But for me, I really kind of wanted someone to come in and give us that other option. And obviously the other one that I'm a little bit disappointed about, because we just don't know what's going to happen, is a backup striker for Richarlison, because all we've brought in is the young lad from Argentina, who even Ange said is not going to feature in the team, not in the short term. He's a longer term prospect. The same with Ashley Phillips, longer term prospect. So, two sort of not pointless transfers, but transfers that you kind of think, well, that don't really help us now. We need some depth and some improvement in the squad now. But I guess we understand that it's not going to be a one transfer window transformation. It's going to take time. It needs to take time. The biggest obvious disappointment overall is the fact that we've still got players at the club who we really didn't want to still be at the club. The likes of Eric Dyer, Andon Bellet, still kind of bumming around. Like I said, Sanchez I kind of understand. I think if they could have got rid of him, they would have got rid of him, but if they can't, he's the one I would kind of say, well, we probably need to hold on to, because you do have to have some sort of backup. But the disappointing thing is around Dyer and even Lloris, kind of all just sitting back and waiting and wanting whatever they want. really kind of hurts their legacy. I mean, let's be fair, Lloris has been a good servant to the club. He's played, a lot of games. He's worked really hard, and he's been instrumental in the times when we have had, I would say success, but you get what I mean. Without him, we'd have probably been in a lot worse position. So for him to get to a point where fans are just saying, he's selfish and we don't want him and just get rid of him and all that, it's quite a sad day, really. But I guess, this contract things works both ways. The other year when Kane wanted to go to City and we went, no, you've got a contract, you're staying. We're all saying, well, contracts, you have to stick with it. Now, because we want these players to go, we're saying rip up the contracts, just get rid of them. They should go. They're being selfish. Contracts are contracts. If you're employed by somebody, then you've got the right to stay there and get everything you deserve from it. And if the clubs that they're offering you to are not where you want to go, if you don't want to move to Germany or you don't want to move to Saudi Arabia, then why should you be forced to, just because you've only got a year left on your contract and the club wants some money? Well, the club could make the decisions. They could rip up these contracts, they could pay them up and let the players go and free up the wages, and then make the space for new players to come in. But then on the flip side of that, are they keeping those players because they haven't been able to get the players across the line that they want to bring in? So you still need to have the backup. It's really, really complex, and I don't think it's as simple as we, as fans, would like it to be. We'd like it to be, we want this player, go and buy him. We don't want this player, rip up the contract, let him go. And some clubs can do that. Your Chelsea's, your Man City's, even your Man United's can do that kind of thing. But I don't. With these owners, it's just not an option. It's just not how they work. It's not what they do, and ultimately that's what we're stuck with. But we'll just have to we'll plod on. I personally think that Lloris will probably end up having his contract terminated and moving on in the next few days. I think Dyer probably as well. Sanchez, I think, will stay as backup, and I think same with Højbjerg. And again, I don't think Højbjerg's a bad option when you're winning a game, but you're getting under pressure and you perhaps need to shore it up a little bit. Then it's good to have that option available to you. I don't think he's a starter. I don't think he's a first name on the team sheet like he was under previous managers. But I think it gives you a different dynamic, a different option. With bearing in mind we haven't got anybody else that can kind of play that role, I guess. So yeah, a little bit very disappointing that we didn't get in a centre back, and someone who can slot into Richie's role as an out striker. And I know that Son can play there, and apparently Johnson can play there, but for me, you need an out striker. We've lost the best one in the world, and we've got Richie, who I hope will start to come good after his goal at Fulham. But you do need other options around that. Especially, Dane Scarlett, I thought, well, maybe he'll get some more game time, but now he's gone off to Ipswich to develop because he's only a young player, which is interesting when you think that Sarr's only a young player, Udogie is only a young player, Bissouma's only a young player, and then all of a sudden, our young players through our academy aren't good enough. We're talking about taking a young player from Chelsea who could be good enough to come in the team, but a player of our own isn't good enough to come into the team. It just confuses the life out of me, if I'm being honest. And we're all kind of second guessing, aren't we? We're all just sitting back second guessing what the decisions are, what's going on in the background, and that's why it's so interesting, and why people like me can sit on videos like this and give an opinion, and you guys can comment and say how you're feeling about it. But I guess there'll be a feeling of disappointment amongst most of you. But listen, we've got the new manager. He's playing the sort of football we want to see. We've got some exciting young new talent in. Let's see where the season takes us. I wasn't expecting to win a trophy this season, and I wasn't expecting to hit top four. You know, bit of luck, we might just about scrape into the conference league. You know, something like that. But if you don't have those expectations and you just kind of go along for the ride, then hopefully you'll feel a lot happier and a lot more settled as the time comes on. But yeah, look forward to the next transfer window and see what that one brings, because that might bring a couple of improvements. Maybe some players may start to become available as their contracts sort of come towards the end and so on. And this whole transfer scenario has changed so much, with, you know, lots of teams trying to offload players that are on long contracts, and lots of teams not wanting to buy those players because they know they can get them for free at a later date and so on. So there's an awful lot of that going on. The dynamic of transfers has really changed. Players are a lot more in control of their own destinies, and you know, why not? You know, we're individuals. We choose our employment, we can choose our employers, we choose when we leave a lot of the time. So, you know, I guess footballers are exactly the same. They have that same idea about looking after themselves, looking after their families, and maybe their wider families, because of the financial options that they have available to them. So yeah, just kind of being pragmatic about it, I guess, helps me get through the whole scenario of transfer windows and so on. So and just to finish off, I do have to say a big apology to Mr. Cowlin, because I was supposed to go on his transfer window video live stream last night, and he told me it was 10 o'clock. He wrote it to me that it was 10 o'clock, but in my head I had 10:30. So when I went to my computer to log on to do a 10:30 video, I saw that it was still going. It was already going. So sorry, Chris, I let you down. It's not unlike me. I wasn't asleep or anything like that. I promise. I was literally sitting in the lounge with my granddaughter. So sorry, mate. Owe you a pint. Never mind. Keep the faith. We'll keep on moving. Up the Spurs.